Well, welcome to the Gabbin. Welcome to the games, fellas. Let me settle in. I'll tell you something. I had a realization, whatever it is. The other day, hello, Adam, that, I'm going to swallow my gum. Hang on. I had a revelation the other day that blow pops. My assistant does our shopping, which I'm grateful for, and she picked up blow pops. And I was really bummed because I was just like, well, I guess she forgot them, or I guess they were out or whatever. And I found them last night in my daughter's, she has a little shelf in the kitchen where she keeps stuff. And I'm like, motherfucker, you had the blow pops all the time. And so I've been eating them all day. But the point is, my goodness gracious, think about it. It really is two candy in one. It's the greatest thing ever. I know Tootsie Rolls got there first, but you've got that great, delicious candy coating on the outside and gum on the inside. I don't know how you top that, fellas. I think we should just call it a day and let the asteroid hit, because how are we ever going to improve inventions beyond that? I do not know. Welcome to GABBIN+GAMES, a special Saturday edition. I want to give you a couple of heads up. I want to let you know that today is a really weird fucking schedule for your Papa Jaffe, and I'm going to drop the ball all over the place. But let me tell you what's going on today, just so we're all in sync. At the moment, we are still scheduled to have Pot and Popcorn this evening, starting at 4 o'clock California time. All members at any tier and mods, please join us in the Discord, and I'll show you how to watch the movie at the appropriate legal place. All members and mods, Plague of Zombies, American Invasion. Super cheesy, super corny, super gory. It's good people. And then Cult Calypso, all mods and God of War members, hit us up a little bit after the first movie. We'll be watching the brand new Halloween Ends. That will be tonight. I do want to let you know the reason this might get moved to later and worst case tomorrow is because I want to reach out to Spectre Bull, who I see in the chat right now, who's been doing some wonderful editing for us here at GABBIN+GAMES. And I really would like to get an edit of the Pot and Popcorn so I can show people what it is. And the last thing I want to do is give him footage of me being exhausted, because right after this show, I'm going to rush over. I have the wonderful opportunity to be on Game On Daily. That'll be at 1 o'clock, but it's probably going to be pushed a little bit because this show is going to be running late. So it's just going to be a busy day, and things are going to slide around, and something may move to tomorrow. I'm just giving you a fucking heads up. I also want to let you know that this, if you are watching this and you are not a paid member, welcome. I love having you here. I appreciate it. I've already seen some people complaining on the chat, but I can't help you with that. Basically, the way we do it now is that the first half of the show is free to everybody. And then once we get into the second half of the show, and sometimes that's an hour and then it's another hour of the show, it depends on the day. That is going to members only. So if you go to the YouTube and you're like, why can't I watch the whole show? You can watch a lot of it, and you can certainly watch the thing that's advertised in the thumbnail, and you can watch it all in the raw feed. You can watch it all live right now. Don't even worry about it if you're here. But beyond that, if you want to watch the whole thing, you have to be a member. Some people don't like it, but you know what? I say, fuck you. Fuck you. I've been doing it for 5 years. This is the way you do it. And yeah, Avoid the Void says that's disappointing after watching for so long. I don't mean fuck you, Avoid the Void. I do mean fuck you, Doug, because Doug, you're always a troll. It's a very valid business model. It works for a number of podcasts. And the fact of the matter is this is the product. It's not like I do a podcast or I do this show and then I sell you bullshit on the side. The product is the show. And so ultimately, if you don't want to pay for it beyond what I give you for free, I respect that. Money is tight. I will be adding a $2.99 tier pretty soon, though. Money is tight all over the place. I do not expect, I don't demand anybody to sub. If nobody subs, it is what it is. But I'm not interested in doing it. I mean, I am interested in doing it for free. I would do it for free, but if I can monetize it and make a living doing it, I'd rather fucking do that. Fupy says, just wait until the full show is on Game Pass. You goddamn right. You goddamn right. Okay, we have a, let me say welcome to our good buddy Troy is Filming. He of the Alabama fame. He has just subscribed and become a member of the Diet Soda Soldiers. I appreciate it very, 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 very much. Good to have you back, sir. Good to have you back in the flock. You have earned yourself a kiss with this lady here. She is the cake lady. She wants to give you all kinds of oral pleasures and good conversation well into the night. Thank you very much, good sir. I appreciate it, buddy. Everybody welcome back, I should say, our good friend Troy is Filming. Hello, Trey Trimble. Good to see you, buddy. Okay. Now, there should be a 1-year membership already, 2-year membership. I don't know what you mean no 1-year membership, James. Okay, let us move forward. Let us begin the show because there is a lot to talk about. A lot to talk about. Was that the mother of Jesus? No, that was not the mother of Jesus. Okay. Inspector Bull, if you're still watching, I will reach out to you later today or tomorrow about what I was just talking about. Okay. Fellas, let's begin the actual show and talk about news and things that make you tingly in your nether regions. This is interesting. We will be talking a little bit later in the show about Game Informer's new article regarding Bayonetta 3. They have a lot of juicy details. I was always going to get it. I was always going to play it, but now I'm much more interested, much more excited. So we'll get into that article. It's a very juicy article, but I got to start the show off with today's Saturday drama. I want to just play you, is this from Twitter? Twitter from the woman who has voiced Bayonetta for the first 2 games. And this is what she has to say. And then I'll just give you my thoughts on it. And I'll read you something from the Game Informer article that's also actually quite relevant to what she's saying. So this is her name. Her name is Helena Taylor. She is a voiceover actress. And let me play this for you. And I'll talk to you on the other side. Here we go.
Hello, my name's Helena Taylor. And I am the voice of Bayonetta. And I would like to explain to you why I didn't voice Bayonetta 3. The Bayonetta franchise made an approximated $450 million. That's not including merchandise. As an actor, I trained for a total of 7.5 years. 3 years at the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art, LAMDA, with voice coach Barbara Barkery, and 4.5 years with the legendary Larry Moss in Los Angeles. And what did they think this was worth? What did they offer to pay me? The final offer to do the whole game as a buyout, a flat rate, was $4,000 US. This is an insult to me, the amount of time that I took to work on my talent and everything that I have given to this game and to the fans. I am asking the fans to boycott this game and instead spend the money that you would have spent on this game donating it to charity. I didn't want the world. I didn't ask for too much. I was just asking for a decent, dignified living wage. What they did was legal, but it was immoral.
Okay, and then she has another one up. Let me just see this one real quick. I'm not sure. Oh God, it goes on and on. Okay, we get the gist. We get the gist. I'm assuming. Let me just see what the second one is.
Now, those of you who follow me on Twitter know that I
don't care. I get the gist. Okay, so Miguel says he's feeling like Jaffe's going to have a bad take. All I can tell you about this is it's not that I have a emotional bad take. Of course I feel for her, and I absolutely know that her contributions to Bayonetta have been meaningful in getting the character where it needs to be. Okay. The problem is, the reason it's not that I don't understand and sympathize with our, voiceover actors. I of course, I know they are talented people. And to be perfectly fair, she probably didn't have a pot to piss in, no matter what her education is, no matter what her training is, where she couldn't negotiate the kind of deal, even from 1 to 2, that she wanted. Now, remember, 1 wasn't that big of a hit. 1 was such a relative bomb that Sega said, you can have it back. And I think, didn't somebody else publish the second one and the third one, if not literally just platinum, but it's not Sega anymore. So it's not like she went back and renegotiated for part 2. Clearly, it was a failure. Okay. So, but regardless, maybe she never would have gotten a better deal either way. The point is, though, you're absolutely right. Blackjack says her capital isn't valued. That's the gist of it, right? Because here's what Game Informer wrote. Now, this had to have happened a couple of weeks ago because, it just went to print. It's probably a month old before any of this shit dropped, okay? I'm reading you the article. This is from the new Game Informer. This is the part where they talk about the new voice. I'll just read you the choice bits. Platinum confirmed to us, the developer Platinum, of course, that Helena Taylor, who we just saw, who served as Bayonetta's English voice actresses in the first 2 games, does not reprise the role in Bayonetta 3. Instead, the Umbra Witch is brought to life by veteran performer Jennifer Hale. Jennifer Hale, of course, was doing the female shepherd. I think that was one of her main roles in Mass Effect. She has done just a metric shit ton of voiceover roles in video games and in movies. Video games and cartoons. It goes on to say, though, despite the change, this is the writer who played it, went hands-on with it, Platinum also confirmed that Bayonetta's Japanese voiceover remains unchanged, still voiced by Atsuko Tanaka. Okay, having heard the performance myself, I found Hale, the new actress, I found Hale's portrayal exceptional and sometimes indistinguishable from Taylor's excellent work. Careful listening makes the difference noticeable, but it's not jarring. Of course, this change may also fuel suspicion that this Bayonetta isn't the same witch that fans fell in love with, but we'll touch on that theory later. We'll talk about that later in the game. Right. Dwayne Foy, Jennifer Hale was also Naomi Hunter in Metal Gear and a number of other things. So, I mean, ultimately, this is really what it comes down to. It's if you're making a game, as much, I just think, I feel for this woman. I feel for Helena Taylor as a human, as a fellow human. But she does seem to have a skewed view of her worth. And I only mean that because when she starts talking about how long she trained and who she trained with and how much work she put into it, and it's like, so what? Everybody works hard. There's no guarantee. I sympathize. I know what it feels like to put a lot of work into something and then have people not show up for it, either emotionally, financially, professionally. Everybody has those experiences, but this is where you're at in your value. Now, do you want to get behind me and fight against capitalism and try to come up with a new system, Helena Taylor? If so, let's do it together. I don't have a better idea, but there's got to be one out there. But in the meantime, in this particular system, why are you going to make more money when clearly the people who are reviewing the game don't even notice that you're not there? I mean, they notice. Giza Loop says, nailed it. Jaffe, another bad take. Here's what you want me to say. And here's the problem and why some of you, not most of you, but some of you are so fucking dumb. And so you can't distinguish between me calling out. I acknowledge that I feel for her. I acknowledge that I'm sympathetic for her. I acknowledge that life is hard financially for a lot of people these days, and it doesn't even matter if it's not. It should be fair. But it's not fair at a human level. It's only fair to capitalist business level. And so I'm not, like I said, if you want to join together and you want to take over the system and you want to come up with a better idea than capitalism, which I'm all for because I think capitalism is cruel and I think it is just soul killing, but it is better than anything else that's come up so far. But if you want to get with me, let's do it. Let's fucking do it. But in the meantime, for you to act like she in the game that it's almost like you're complaining that she's playing a game. Like I was watching the Padres play the Dodgers last night, and there was this one thing where I guess his last name's Taylor. He slid back to first base. It seemed like he could have been out. He could have been not out, and they should have had a different camera on it, blah, blah, blah. It's like, but that's the game you're playing, right? And if you don't want to play the game, that's okay. But Taylor got up, and the Padres shook it off. It's like, that sucks. We should have had that guy out. They won anyway. But that's the game you're playing. I know it's called stealing a base, you piece of shit, Darth Nugget. What I'm saying, though, is it was clear his hand was off the fucking bag, and then it went back on the bag. So all I'm saying to you guys in the chat that act like I have a bad take on this, give me a better take. What would you do? Pay her $500,000? Pay her $100,000? I mean, what they said was, you're worth $400,000 to this budget. You know why? Because we're going to take that money and about 8 other people that feel the way you do, and we're going to make sure we can afford to hire this great animator that's going to have some of these great torture animations in Bayonetta 3 that otherwise we wouldn't be able to afford. Now, do you still feel the same? Fuck you. Fuck you. Porto says capitalism births innovative products. I agree. I'm not opposed to the positive aspects of capitalism, but it also it also rots the soul, baby. It rots the goddamn soul from the top to bottom. Okay. She said they offered her $4,000. That's right. Jimmy McGilchrist says she can make her own game. See how it does. See how it does. Sure. And I don't think she's not acknowledging the value of the team that's making the game. I just think she's overvaluing herself to a degree that makes her look stupid. I agree. 4,000 for an entire character. Now, to be fair, we haven't seen the game yet. We don't know how much Bayonetta isn't. I mean, I know she's involved, but how many lines does she have? I don't fucking know. I'm on her side, says Trouble Tech, but isn't there a better route to take to complain? But how are you on her side? The side is, they said, this is what we're willing to offer for the job. She says, that's not good enough for me. And they said, okay, no worries. We'll go somewhere else. And they did. What would you know, if you were Nintendo or they're footing the bill, if you were Platinum, though, making the calls on this, what would you ever do? Right. Dream Corridor says, if we live in a world where David Hayter can be replaced as Snake in Metal Gear, no one is safe from being recasted. No, of course not. Gingham Prime says, Jaffe, I linked you a post in the Discord with extra info. Who are you? Are you Kojima Supports Card Racer? Who are you in the Discord? Kratos is asking, why is the stream so laggy? Is it laggy for everybody or just or just him? Hello, Angel. I wish I cared about voice actors enough to boycott the game over this. She should be blacklisted. Oh, Phoebe, shut up. She shouldn't be black. She's upset. She's upset. I get it. I respect that. I really do. I appreciate that. That sucks, man. And it's got to suck for her to be able to be out there hearing all the love for this character and the cosplay and all that shit and end up with, no real ownership. But she doesn't deserve ownership. If she deserved it, she would have been able to go negotiate for it. I think she saw the tweet about Charles Martinet not voicing Mario and decided to do her own viral treat. Maybe. What did the voice actor of the original God of War make? I have no idea. I could not tell you. I don't remember. I know he was a union actor, and we paid whatever he needed, whatever he asked for, or whatever he was willing to negotiate. I know, obviously, that like Linda Hunt probably got more, even though her lines were less, but she was an Oscar-winning actress, and I really was insistent upon getting her. So, because I thought she would make a massive difference. Kratos' voice actor of the first couple of games, oh my God, I'm blanking on his name. Very nice fella, very nice man. T.C. Carson, after God of War 1, I would hope he went back and negotiated the fuck out of that deal and said, all right, motherfucker, I am Kratos, start to pay. And I hope they did, but I was never really involved in those conversations. The big news you need to know today, though, is this just in, says Stream Corridor. Chris Pratt has been recast as the voice of Bayonetta in the upcoming game. That's right. That's right. All right. Well, I don't see this thing in the chat, in the Discord. So we're going to move on to a different story. Jimmy Gilchrist, let me bring in calls a little bit later. I'm not going to do calls right now. I don't want to keep you waiting, but I will do them later if there's time. Okay. Let's move on and talk about Gotham Knights. Gotham Knights had a little bit. Well, hang on. I've got to talk to Doge. Doge is my pal. Doge, the fellow developer. Let's make sure we get his thought in there because people in the chat are agreeing with him. He says 4K is less than what Jennifer Hale makes in a week because she's SAG-AFTRA. How does that make sense? Well, I don't know if this woman is SAG-AFTRA or not. If she is as talented and esteemed and trained as she said, it's weird that she's not SAG-AFTRA. It's also possibly because the game is being produced in Japan. I don't know. Like, I know in America, when we worked on games, if we hire anyone from SAG-AFTRA, which are the unions for performers in America, you, not always, but you can get some little special cases, but more often than not, the rule is if I hire TC Carson, who's SAG, everybody else that's a voice actor has to be SAG, which I think is a great thing. I think it's a wonderful power that the union has to allow that. I don't know if Japan has to follow the same guidelines. I don't know how that works if it's a Japanese company, but clearly Jennifer Hale, maybe this woman was a pain in the ass. Maybe they went to her with 4K, and I mean, we don't know the whole story. Maybe they went to her with 4K because they thought it was all going to be. There's another character in this game, some young kind of punk witch or witch in training, and maybe when they went to her, they said, "Hey, I don't know, about $5,000 because we only need you for a day," and she lost her shit and walked out. Who the fuck knows? I don't fucking know. But for whatever reason, Jennifer Hale could negotiate a deal that made her happy enough to do the work, and this woman was like, "Yeah, I'm not really interested in playing ball with you guys." Let's talk about Gotham Knights. Gotham Knights dropped 2 pieces of news yesterday. One's interesting but confusing. Let's talk about that one first. Gotham Knights to get Heroic Assault is what it's called, a free 4-player co-op mode in November. We know the campaign is only supporting 2 players. We know the reason that it's only supporting 2 players is starting to sound more and more and more like horse shit. There's one of 2 things, both of which, in my opinion, are bad, which could tell you why they're only supporting 2 players, even though clearly the narrative focuses on 4. One is that the director the other day, or actually in a Game Informer, I think it was also a Game Informer online article, was like, oh, well, it's because the narrative makes more sense with 2 players. And it's like, we've had it working with 4 players, and it was like a party, and it was fun, he said. But ultimately, the narrative and the story demanded it be 2 players. Now, that either sounds like horse shit or that sounds like a developer who really has their priorities in the wrong place, which is to put their narrative over their gameplay when the gameplay clearly is the star of this fucking show. Okay. The other thing is because of what happened. Well, let me tell you about, okay, I'll go back to Heroic Assault in a second. The other thing is the other piece of news they dropped, which is last night, I guess this is one of the Warner Brothers people on the Discord said, I know many of you are wondering about the availability of a performance mode for Gotham Knights on consoles. Due to the types of features we have in our game, like providing a fully untethered co-op experience in our highly detailed open world. I don't know what that means, but let's keep going. It's not as straightforward as lowering the resolution and getting a higher frame rate. For this reason, our game does not have a performance quality toggle option and will run at 30 frames on consoles. So it's what I was saying is the other reason that it may not have 4-player in the core game is because clearly it sounds like they can't even get 2 players working in the game without it running at 30 frames. So somebody's lying, or it's a hell of a coincidence that both of those were the reasons that they don't have 4 players. But that said, you're going to get locked at 30 frames, which it's really interesting because back in the day when I was making games sort of in my heyday, you could be 20 frames. Like Tim Moss and I fought like cats and dogs on the God of War game because he really wanted it to be 60. And I was like, dude, I want more enemies on the screen. It's the idea, it's the concept. And he's like, no, it has to be smooth. And I don't remember where we came out with that, but at the time you could ship a game that ran at 20 frames and nobody said anything. Now, and I think it's overall good for the medium. People have understood or gamers understand and care about 60 now because they know it does make more of a difference. I don't think Batman is going to play like shit because of the frame rate. Games can be adjusted and they can be designed around 30 frames. It certainly won't be as smooth as it could be. But regardless of that, though, it's interesting to see a lot of gamers complaining about it. That's kind of a neat step in the right direction in regards to how we are perceiving the medium these days. But it also does, between that and the fact they can barely get 2 players, let alone 4, make you wonder just what in the cockadoodie fuck is going on with this production. But there is this thing called Gotham Knights Heroic Assault. I'm a little confused on this. So it doesn't come out when the game ships in a couple of weeks in October. It comes out the next month sometime in November 29th to be specific. And I guess it's kind of like Horde mode with Melee. It's all 4 players and very unique standalone environments that's not in the game world. It's probably in the game world thematic and game world assets, but it's not in the game world regarding you're not like wandering around an open space, right? It's built for heroic assault, the levels. I guess there's like 30 floors or 30 arenas or whatever, and you can fight with your friends and try to make it to the top. I'm sure there are things that you unlock that you can bring back into the core game and vice versa, blah, blah, blah. So, whatever. I mean, what I hear about the combat is it's relatively It looks really good, but it's not the deepest thing in the world. So I don't know if people are going to want to, it's kind of like Streets of Rage, I guess. So are you going to want to play 3D Streets of Rage with the Batman characters? Could be cool. The thing I don't understand about it is every time I've seen them advertise this, they call it the free 4-player co-op experience. And I don't know if that means that if I own the game, I can invite 3 other friends for free, or does it mean that this is just like a free-to-play mode that you don't even have to have purchased Gotham Knights? If anybody in the chat knows, please let me know, because I've looked on their website, I've looked in a bunch of places, and all they do is they put that word there, free, but I don't understand really what they mean by it. Dream Corridor says, I'd rather have 30 frames with graphical fidelity pushed through the roof. I mean, the graphics do look pretty fucking good in this game, but they don't look so good that you're like, oh, well, yeah, come on, man. I mean, look, I'm going to put something on the screen in a second. They don't look like what I'm about to show you, and you go, okay, I understand the trade-off. No, they look like a traditional PS5 current gen game console. So 2 people are saying, this is interesting. So Masochista is saying it's free DLC for your paid game. It's a free mode. Okay. But then Toby Moss says it'll be free to play. Everyone's doing it. I mean, it could be like Masochista. It could be like what Ghost of Tsushima did for, was it Legends? If you owned the game, it was free. Maybe that's what it is, but it would be nice if they got a little bit more clear on their messaging. Hickzock says, nobody batted an eye on Last of Us 2 and Death Stranding on PS4 being 30. I like graphic fidelity. Sure. 30 frames a second game is absolutely playable. But 60 frames is now absolutely noticeable and desired. And I don't look, if this game comes out and it's as good as Last of Us 2 or Death Stranding on PS4, I don't think this story will be a footnote at best. But I think it's just one more thing piled on top that makes it feel sort of like, oh, Jesus, guys, what is this fucking game? I want to know. I want to know. I want somebody to do some investigative reporting and go, what happened to this fucking thing? You can't tell me the team is like, this is our vision. This is fucking what we wanted. Because if it turns out that they were coming to us and saying, the game is going to look like this, you have to have seen this. I looked for about 20 minutes to find out if this was a hoax or not. This is Unreal 5, and everything I've found so far suggests that this is real. This is fucking real. Have you seen this? This is Unreal 5. If you're listening to the show and not watching, all I can tell you is get yourself to a monitor, because this is designed to look like body cam footage. And in that, of course, they can take some shortcuts where things don't have to look as perfect. But this, if you didn't tell me that this was real, even the body, people are like, oh, the body doesn't look good. I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, the body at least gives it away, but this is fucking insane. And so I would go, okay, if we have to trade a little bit to start getting graphics like this, okay, that's the trade that always happens. But no, this is fucking batshit, man. This is where we're going. I mean, I can't fathom what it's like to be a kid right now, to be 11, 10 years old right now, and then fucking growing up and becoming my age at 50. What the fuck is it going to look like? Doomslayer says, I'm okay with 30 as long as I can see why. Right. Fupy says, what's this called? I think this is just a demo that this guy is doing regarding Unreal 5. He may turn it into a game, but I don't actually know what it's from. Someone in the chat may, but I'm not privy to that data. Tone says, I shit my pants with combat on the Atari 2600. Right. 100%. 100%. James Hole says, I don't think the graphics are that amazing. It's the camera movement. What are you talking about? I mean, look, it's subjective. I respect the fact that you don't respond like I do. But I'm not moving the camera right now. Yeah, Rob the Mod says this was more of a camera test. Okay, well, it may have been, but this, if you were to show me this picture, let me bring it up, and I'm not moving the camera now, and you were to say this was body cam footage from a shootout, and it wasn't moving, I'd go, oh, okay, come on now, I need you to take your wee-wees out and come all over this, or your vajayjays out and moist all over this, because is there a verb for that? You can say squirt, but that's not really the actual term for it. It's a very different thing. Doesn't matter. The point is, get moist, get wet, because this is the future, and it looks like the future is goddamn bright. Okay. Bro, it literally looks like a pic taken on the first iPhone. Yes. It's not squirt, Mutamo. I mean, Mutamo, you would know, but I don't think it's squirt. Because squirting is a different thing. Bro, it literally looks like a pic on the first iPhone. I don't agree. I know it looks kind of low res, but it looks real. It looks real. It's not a queef. It is not a queef. A queef is a fart from the vagina. Come on now. Okay, let's move on though. Let's move on. Jojo D says, I checked to see if I had a JJ okay. I want to welcome Danny the Root. Danny the Root is sauntered on into town on his horse, and he says, I want to be part of your little gang of fucksticks, Jaffe. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that, buddy. I appreciate the generosity. I appreciate the faith. Danny Root is our newest member of the Diet Soda Soldiers. Anybody who's capable, I sure wish you guys would give him or her, I don't know what Dan Root is, I don't want to assume, give him a little love by showing him a picture of the most beautiful woman in the world who will soon be my wife. Rob the Mod said he is talking with the developer of this game right here, and he does plan on turning it into a full game. Fuck you, Fupy and Eddie, and fuck you, Trey Trimble. Fuck you, Darth Nugget. That is... Thank you, Jojo D. Thank you, Jojo D. I appreciate it. All right. Okay, let's move forward, shall we? Remember the Overwatch beta that was out last week? I mean, listen, it was good enough for me to make me want to run out and JB says there's no join channel. You're probably watching it on the internet on your phone, my guess would be. Like if you want to join and you don't see a join button, you either have to open the app on YouTube or you have to do it through, or open the app on your phone for the YouTube app, or you have to do it through a phone. I'll take your money, absolutely. Or do it through a desktop, sorry. Anyway, so I played the beta last week or 2 weeks ago. It was good enough to get me to say, I fucking want this. I downloaded the beta. I played it. I went off and pre-ordered it. I cannot wait to stream the campaign. And the multiplayer was great. Over 20,000 cheaters, though, during 4 days on the open betas were banned. Team Ricochet are the people that the developer hires to run their cheating. They're an outside company. 72% of cheaters were banned before they could play a single match. These fuckers aren't kidding now. I know the news broke that you have to have a phone. That's only for the PC side, which I'm still down with. I know it's problematic and I don't like it, but I like the fact that they are being very aggressive about, because people are basically making their game worse because they're a bunch of little fucking punk cheaters. So whether it's hiring Team Ricochet or whether it's coming up with kind of controversial options, Spazbo says you need the phone for the console. I don't think so. I'll look that up in just a second. But I saw they walked that back, but I'll look it up in a second, Spazbo. Dream Corridor, thank you, buddy, for that super chat. I appreciate it very, very much, buddy. Very, very kind, but thank you, sir. And no prepaid phone, right. But so they're going after the cheaters, 20,000 of them. Here's some of the news. Here's some of the details. For those that were able to play normally, meaning they got into a match, even though they were cheating, the systems within an average of about 5 games were able to detect they were cheating and remove them from the ecosystem. Now, if one of those people that was cheating had a phone and did the phone system, what are they calling it? SMS Protect? That would be hard for that fucker to get back in. It would be hard for that fucker to get back in. I got no problems with that. Team Ricochet said it also banned over 6,000 illicit accounts before they managed to even play. So they were able to also figure out if people were playing pirated copies. There was one system that unjustly impacted players over the weekend, with some users being kicked out of matches for friendly fire. Well, that may be the case, but the biggest problem the multiplayer in this game has, and I hope to God they fix it, and I wasn't the only one complaining, is it is really, really fucking hard to tell who to shoot. I know your teammates have a little blue tag over them, but it only pings when you get close enough. And even then, the game moves so fast that you really need a little bit more help in that game. But regardless, though, it was a bug. So even if you do shoot your own teammates, it won't think you're cheating. The benefits of a pre-release beta, they say, is being able to test new methodologies and systems ahead of the launch to see what's viable, as well as retain the full scope of Ricochet Anti-Cheat to keep our cards close to our chest. Combating cheaters is an ebb and flow process, they say. There is no simple solution to stop cheating from ever occurring. While only partial anti-cheat systems were deployed for the free-to-play beta, the security team gained valuable learnings of what worked and what did not. So it is going to be a ongoing battle to keep the game playable when it comes to cheaters, which I think is great. Jojo D says, I still have Overwatch 2 downloaded. Any chance this is a game night game? I think so. We should do a game night very, very soon, like this week if we can. Okay, let's move on. I want to talk. This has me. Listen, I know not a lot of you guys are not super into. No, actually, Doge. No, Doge says, Jaffa, you're peddling Game Pass by talking about Scorn later. Maybe, sorta, not really, maybe. Okay, I'll get to that though. I know a lot of you guys were not, are not big VR fans. I respect that. I appreciate that. And I'm a on the fence, VR proselytizer. I love it, but I just find there's just not enough really compelling stuff to play that's worth the headache. Sometimes literally. Okay. I was very excited to learn that Iron Man from PSVR is now coming to MetaQuest 2. It's the first game in a long time I've been like, oh, I actually want to pick up my MetaQuest 2 again. So it is coming next month. It looks great. I was actually working on an Iron Man VR game, but it obviously never went anywhere. But the team that made it, Camouflage, has also just gotten acquired by Meta, Oculus, whatever, Facebook. They say we shipped a pretty big game for PSVR. We pushed some really impressive visuals. We pushed out a gameplay dynamic that really hasn't been done by any other studio, but we did it in a way that didn't lead into the core strengths of the platform. So now they're basically saying they're really excited to be able to make the game that they envisioned with the hardware that makes a lot more sense, which is no wires, faster loading, all kinds of things like that. So all the reviews of this has been great. The writer of this article on Upload says it's a delight to fling yourself in any direction as Iron Man using quick physical turns. 360-degree combat and flying has never felt better. And that's November 3rd is when it comes out. And so let me just put this up for you real quick. I'll turn down the audio so we can chat. But I'm the thing we all know, the thing that's obviously clear is that the best VR games so far, at least consistently, tend to be made by PlayStation. And the stuff for Oculus, there are good games. The Resident Evil 4 game was great, but they don't really come close to the consistent output of good shit that you get from PlayStation. But I haven't played PSVR 2. Max has played it, who comes to our chat sometimes. He says it's great. Excuse me. So I'll keep an eye out for it. But so far, nothing I've seen makes me want that versus I'll just wait for the Quest 3. Ravno says, is this game called Motion Sickness the game? Well, I don't get sick anymore in VR, but sure, if you're prone to that, then yeah, absolutely. King Manuel, I don't give a fuck what you say. King Manuel says, we don't care about VR. King Manuel, would you like to know one of my pet peeves, buddy? It's people in the gaming community speaking for anyone other than themselves. If you were to say to me, I don't like VR, maybe I would point you out and say, hey, let's talk about that. What is it you don't like about it? Have you tried it? Blah, 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 blah. But when you say we, fuck you. Fuck you. That's what I have to say to you, good sir. Tony Barnes, one of you'll never find a developer with more of a pedigree and more of a list of hits. Tony Barnes is here. It says, King Manuel, who's this we? When you mean you. You goddamn right, sir. You goddamn right. But anyway, so we got Iron Man coming. That's pretty cool. I'm excited. This studio got bought. Also, this game, this is called BONELAB. BONELAB is the fastest selling app in the history of MetaQuest. The VR title released on Quest and Steam in late September, and within its first hour of release, says game developer website, it earned $1 million in 1 hour. Up until this point, you've had to look for games like Resident Evil 4, which made $1 million in the first 24 hours. So people are buying. BONELAB is kind of the sequel to Boneworks, right? Which is, it's both a narrative-based game to some extent, but it's also, and I haven't played it. I hear it's fucking great. But the real sex on this is there's like a Gary's Mod Playground, which I have on the screen right now, which looks pretty fucking cool. So I definitely plan on picking this up. I'd never played it before. Dream Corridor, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, I'll show you BONELAB, Jaffe. I bet you will, sir. That's what your mom says anyway. She says you're very, very endowed for a cartoon character. So Scorn is, we'll get to Scorn. Relax, you fucks. Jesus. Oh, I like this. King Manuel says, made him cuss on his own stream. LMAO. Keep dancing, fucking clown. Really? You think I don't cuss on this stream? You think you just won some victory, you piece of shit? Why don't you get on the fucking phone and call me, buddy? Let's talk. Let's you and me talk, buddy. Let's talk about what the problem is. Let's talk about the problem. Fucking moron. Okay. But anyway, this is BONELAB. All right. Here we go. He says, give me your number. You got it. Hang on. Let me set it up. By the way, before we do that, though, let's say welcome everybody to Poor Degenerate has become the newest, the latest, the greatest member of the Diet Soda Soldiers. Here's what you get for that. Don't think I never gave you anything. This is a pipe. I've put in it, I've put love, and I've put the fecal paste of the future fecal paste of King Manuel, who's going to shit his pants after he calls. And I'm going to let you look inside the secret box of used milk duds. There you go. Only you can see what's really in there. Thank you, Poor Degenerate, for joining our Diet Soda Soldiers. I appreciate that, buddy. Okay, let me bring up the phone. We're going to move on to another story, but before we do, okay, I'm a man of my word. I want to talk to this guy. I want to see what his problem is. 1 second. I just got to open it up. Hang on. I wasn't prepared for this. This is me going above and beyond. Omar, fuck you. Omar, why are you stalling so much? Just talk about Scorn so we can roast you about Game Pass. Shut the fuck up, Omar. Here's a thought. Ravno says, let's derail the stream to play with the child. Oh, I assure you, I'm not derailing the stream. If it's boring, you guys will let me know, and then we will move on to the next proper topic, which, so you know, if you're curious, is we're going to be talking about God of War Ragnarok. Okay. But right now, here's the number. This is only, please just let this guy call. Let's get him out of the way. All right, there you go. 619-752-0548. While we're waiting, and seriously though, Poor Degenerate, joking aside, welcome, buddy. I appreciate it very, very much. This is another game that I want to play on PSV on VR. So this is NFLPRO ERA. I obviously have never played football. I never will play football, but I love watching it. And the idea of playing from the quarterback, and it's not just a throwing kind of derby thing, but you're actually moving around the field and you can see it. I definitely, you know, and apparently when you go on defense, you literally sit on the sidelines and watch your team play, which I know sounds incredibly stupid, but I hear it's really good. So there are starting to be some things on VR that they're going to bring me back. It may not bring me back for more than 2 days, but I definitely want to give it a try. 619-752-0548. Do you get to stand on the field and watch the ads, says Fupy. I will tell you something, Fupy, while we're waiting for this guy to call in. So I was watching a while ago the Auburn football game. This was like 5 years ago when they were doing really, really well. And I remember like I was at Bartlett Jones working, and one of the games was I could only watch it by going to the Xbox NFL deal they had. And it was the first time I had ever watched a NFL game or a football game other than high school without any of the ads or the crazy logos and the announcers and all that. And yeah, it is absolutely a different experience. Look at that. Okay, we're gonna move on because he's not gonna call. I'm gonna give him 10 more seconds. I'm gonna count him in real time. If this little bitch doesn't call, we'll know that he is a coward. Here we go. 619-752-0548. I'm going to hold up. All right. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. He left the chat. What a bitch. I'll tell you what. It's all you need to know. That's all you need to know about these people. If you're ever walking around, I mean, seriously, a lot of people, I'm not fucking with you, man. A lot of people get really hurt, like teenagers and stuff, by social media and bullying online. All you need to know is what you just saw right there. I'm not even saying let's meet out in the streets. I said, here's a phone number. Call me. You'll be safe. Let's just talk about it. What's the problem? He runs away. So if you're ever out there actually getting worried about people being mean to you online, understand that the vast majority of them are too fucking chicken shit to even pick up a goddamn phone. Think about that. All right, let's move on. As we do in this great. Oh, before we move on, I got to let you know, Jojo D, our good friend Jojo D, who does great edits for us. I got to put up his Halloween one, which I love. Has said, as Jaffe, I am upping my medication and I am upping my membership in Gabbin Games. I appreciate that, buddy. He has just joined the Cult Calypso. Now, what that means is two things. He is almost close to going clear, right? Which means that he and Xenu will be reunited sooner than later. It also, God damn it, it also means, let me ban this person. It also means that he will be available not only to watch the first movie tonight, which is Plague a Zombie, but we will be watching Halloween Ends tonight for Cult Calypso members, mods, and above. Not Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends. And so, yeah, so hopefully we'll see you tonight, Jojo D. In the meantime, thank you, buddy. You know I appreciate that. Let us move on with the show. Here we go. Not that. Let's talk God of War. There's not necessarily news on this. I'm interested in this. God of War announced, obviously we know Ragnarok is coming out on the 9th of November, less than a month away. And they've announced a bundle for it. The bundle doesn't include the brand new God of War controller, whatever. I mean, here's my point. It's a bundle. We know shipments are up 400%. We know that there's going to be a lot of happy people this Christmas, not just because they get to play God of War, but they finally get to get themselves a PS5 after a long, dry season. I think it's great news. I don't like bundles like this, though, because there's no real value, right? The Horizon, I mean, again, I'm not upset they're doing it. I think it's great. But in terms of like, you know, when I was a kid, even when I was in the industry towards the beginning, I remember one year, I mean, Sega Saturn was on its last legs, but they put out a bundle that you bought the Saturn and then you got Virtual Racer, Virtual Fighter, Virtual Cop for free, right? That's a bundle. This is just the game at the same price. You may get a $10 discount. When they did for Horizon Forbidden West, there was a bundle and it was $10 cheaper than if you would have bought the console separately from the game, or the console separately from the bundle in the game. There was a third-party bundle, and that was flush. That was like, nope, it's the exact same thing. $70 for the game, whatever the thing is, $4.99 or whatever for the PlayStation. This is the disc drive version. So I'm not really all that hyped about it. I'd love there to be something a little bit more interesting when they call it a bundle. But that said, you know, it is what it is. It's not a code, though. This comes with the game. The Horizon did, but this comes with the game. Like a physical game, and because it's the disc drive version, I think. Yeah, Maskissa says they didn't even throw in the new God of War controller. Bundles used to be so much better than this. Yep. Omar says, yep, Sony got lazy, just giving games to gamers while Microsoft got controllers and skins and other things that aren't game. Oh, that's a good idea. Hicksock says should be Ragnarok plates. Right. That's a great, now that they're doing that and selling those colored plates, I mean, how fucking expensive is it? God damn, Jim Ryan, you're like a squirrel gathering nuts. I can save a nickel, I guess. But you could put some badass fucking Ragnarok. It's a great idea. And it's like, there's no real development costs on the game side or anything, but there's a reason you can only get those plates. Come on now. That's a great idea. I'd love to see that. It's interesting that the bundles are all physical instead of digital. I thought the Horizon Forbidden West was digital, and you got a code, right? Or maybe not. But I mean, obviously, Sony makes more money on digital. You'd think they'd want to push the digital. Fupy says, I'm amazed at how many grown people want their consoles and controllers to have game decals on them. Toys. Well, a lot of people don't look at them as toys. They look at them in like the same way back in the day people looked at stereo equipment. Sweetie says, I don't understand why most people are obsessed with God of War more than other games. Sure, it's a good game, but there are plenty of other good games out there. God of War is not the only one. Sure, I agree with you. God of War is not my most anticipated game of the season. My most anticipated game is Callisto Protocol. I am excited for God of War. I am excited for this new Atari, believe it or not, I mean, it's pretty niche, but this Atari historical bundle that's being worked on. But there's one other game. But yeah, God of War's in there. It's in my top 3 that I want to play this year, but I'm not chomping at the bit to play a new God of War, but the last trailer looked great. If we had limited edition embossed design plates for these bundles, I would gladly spend on them, says Unknown Games. Right. Yes, Joe, PS5 is easier to get. He says he's going to buy one for his nephew this Christmas. Okay. Let's talk Scorn a little bit. Let me get a little bit of the bubbly. One moment. Let's talk Scorn. Luca, that's a good point. Callista Flockhart Protocol. That's right. And Evil West. That's right, Joe. That's the other one I'm looking forward to. Yes, Evil West I want to play. So I want to start with this tweet from my buddy, Saltiest Gamer. And I wrote him right when I saw this. I said, this is an idiotic statement you're making. But here, this will kick off the tone. Salt King, Saltiest Gaming, who is in our chat. We're in his chat often enough. He says, Scorn is a day one Xbox Game Pass game. And that is really the only way to justify playing it. This mentality is why Xbox and Game Pass are ruining the gaming industry. And this is from Game Rant. They gave Scorn 1 out of 5. And that's what they said. They said it should be pointed out that Scorn is a day one Xbox Game Pass game. And this is from the review. Salty was just quoting it. And that is really the only way to justify playing it. Otherwise, Scorn is an experience that even the most diehard horror fans should skip. Okay. The idea. So we're gonna address a couple things. I don't have a Scorn review. Not that you need my review, but I don't have a Scorn review ready yet. I've played it for an hour. I knew what it was when I got in. I heard somebody yesterday saying that the best way to look at Scorn is like almost like a real-time Giger-like Myst, if you remember the old game, the CD-ROM game Myst from back in the day. And I have found that to be the case. But I went into it knowing it was mostly a puzzle game. And so far, I'm enjoying it. It's kept my interest. I'm curious where it's going. If it doesn't start to pick up sooner than later, I probably will abandon it. But right now, I certainly don't think it is a crappy game at all. But it's not a great game. Okay. But regardless, the bigger thing I want to talk about is where Salt King says this mentality, the only way to justify playing it on Game Pass is why Xbox and Game Pass are ruining the gaming industry. To this, I say no. To this, I say Saltiest actually has it backwards. If I hit refresh on Metacritic, Scorn is currently sitting, it's still at a 72. And this is actually a great advertisement for something like PS Plus or Game Pass for subscription services, right? Because this is exactly what the medium needs. If all you're used to, and if you're a PlayStation only player and you don't subscribe to any of the subservices or use them, I get that this might be new to you. So you would feel like salty, right? You would feel like, oh, this is terrible. They're giving us shit games. But if you've been on the subservices enough, including PlayStation's, which is pretty fucking good other than the lack of brand new titles, what you find is the same thing you're starting to find in games now that we have seen in movies and TV shows for a very, very long time, which is for the longest time, other than incredibly rare instances, reviewers ruled the roost. Okay. One moment. Alexa's talking. Okay. Right. Okay. So, a 72 would be dead on arrival. If this was a $60 game or even a $30 game, it would be dead on arrival. Bend Over dropped super chat. I appreciate it, buddy. He says, Scorn is not the way, Jaffe. Please open your eyes. I appreciate your super chat. I appreciate your generosity. I don't think you've spent your money well because I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean? What do you think I'm going to say? I'm not telling you Scorn is the best game in the goddamn world. What I'm telling you is this is not a universally hated game by players or critics. And you can see that in the Metacritic. And in And in that, what you are starting to see, which I think is fucking great for the medium, the art form, is the shackles of if you're not a 90, you're dead. Those are broken, right? Suddenly a 72 is like, all right, I'll try it, whatever. And sometimes those I'll try it whatevers go on to become your favorite movies, your favorite albums, your favorite songs, your favorite games. And if you don't believe me, here's some examples. I'm not going to go through all of them. Hocus Pocus, even though I've never even seen it, but for a generation, that's a beloved movie. That's at a 37 Rotten Tomatoes. Venom is a 30, but I've never seen that either, but I've heard people say it's really fucking good. Jennifer's Body is a 45. Hook is a classic. It's a 29 on Rotten Tomatoes. The Greatest Showman was a massive hit. It's at 56. Look at these. The Big Lebowski bombed when it first came out in theaters. Nobody wanted to see it. Got great reviews. Nobody wanted to see it. Tenacious D, Pick a Destiny, Being John Malkovich, Spinal Tap. All of these movies bombed when they came out. But they've gone on to become much loved pieces of entertainment. And because ticket prices are impulse purchases. Fuck you, T. Harris. T. Harris, why even waste your energy writing? You've said nothing. He says, not like this, Jaffe pandering. Why don't you be specific? What do you mean? What am I pandering to? What I'm saying is you are with this business model shift. You are being able to be your own critic. You are being able to take chances and discover things that you wouldn't have discovered before because the business model didn't allow for it unless you were just super fucking rich. One of the reasons that, I have such a deep well of knowledge of games, not in terms of necessarily I know about how to play a fighting game. I don't mean that, but I've played more than a lot of other fucking people have. No, I haven't finished most of them, but I've played them. It's because when I worked for Sony, I had a credit card that allowed me to go into GameStop every fucking week and buy whatever the fuck I wanted. So I played any and everything if it had the slightest bit of interest to me. And now I have enough money in my bank account and I do this show. And so I need to stay relevant to what people are talking about and playing, that I buy like that. Well, that shouldn't be limited to people who work in games or talk about games for money. This allows the freedom of that. And in that, how can the medium not improve? It's access to things without gatekeepers. How are you defending the opposite? Let me ask you this question. If you look right now, this is from NeoGaf. Scorn reviews literally are going from a 9 out of 10 to a 4 out of 10. And the lowest is an Xbox centric. In the middle of the road, 6.5 is an Xbox centric group, right? I don't look at the PC Gamer gave it an 8. The Guardian gave it an 8. Eurogamer gave it a 3 out of 5. Nexus gave it a 9. GameSpot gave it a 4, right? My point is, when I look at a game that comes out and it's all over the place like that, instead of just looking at this number, which is the Metacritic number, which is a 72, I look at it and I go, what is this? Suddenly I'm interested. Oh, hello there, humans. It's your old Papa Chaffee. I appreciate you watching until the end of this free version of Gabbin' Games from this Saturday, October 25th. Thank you for that. I want to let you know you've reached the end of the free content. However, there's a whole hour left of this great episode for members. And here I am trying to sell you to get you to become a member of any tier. You'll be able to watch the rest of this show. We're also doing Pot and Popcorn this weekend. You'll be able to come to that. A lot of other good member things. But in the upcoming rest of the show, we talk about Bayonetta, not just a little bit more with the actress having the issue that she had, but the great deep dive that Game Informer did for this game, this current issue of Bayonetta 3. Really interesting stuff. Has made me much more excited about this title than I was. We talk about the new Dead Space, 8 to 10 minutes of gameplay. Can it compete with Callisto? Is it coming out too close to Callisto? Still some I'll show it to you. I mean, really some good looking stuff that these guys have in the new Dead Space, but I don't know. There's also some issues with it. We will talk about that. We will, of course, go on to talk more about some new news breaking today and last night about the Activision Microsoft deal. The UK body seems to be siding with PlayStation, which is fine, but it's a little weird because it doesn't make any goddamn sense what they're saying. We talk about that. We talk about a bunch of other stuff. So hopefully we'll see on the flip side of this message, going over to the link tree down below this video. There's a lot of information about what it means to be a member, what you get for it at the various tiers, as well as how to sign up if you're interested in such malarkey. There's a link to the Discord. There's a link to all of our great sponsors. Thank you for considering it. And as importantly, if not more, just thanks for spending the time with us today, hanging out with us, talking about the greatest thing in the world, the video games. Thanks, fellas.